Alright, let's get to work. In this video, we will compare a cheap stretch ceiling with a premium class stretch ceiling. Here's a life hack for you. We can use the laser to figure out where we need to bend the fixture so you don't see it through the ceiling. For you guys, the Stroy Plashatka team traveled to St. Petersburg to meet some awesome specialists. Hey guys, my name is Ivan and I specialize in mounting stretch ceilings. In the first part of the video, Ivan will mount the cheap suspended ceiling, show you the result, and tell you how long it took him. Working with a budget profile is much faster than a premium one. You don't have to spend time cutting and joining the inner parts of the angle. In the second part of the video, we will be mounting the premium suspended ceiling. And for that, we will need an entire team due to the complexity of the work. So you could technically install this ceiling solo, but it would be very hard. At the end, we will summarize and you can come to your own conclusions. Installation pass where you tuck in the suspended ceiling. Here you would install an LED strip with a diffuser in order for the light to be evenly distributed. I'll jump a bit ahead and be honest. Saying that I was shocked by the final result is an understatement. So, our ceiling is done. It took us only 2 days and 2 nights to finish it. In my opinion, the premium suspended ceiling was such a massive glow up compared to what it used to be in there that there wasn't much else to do. On this wall we have a frameless profile, which makes it look like the ceiling is floating. If you still think that a stretch ceiling is an option that is made out of desperation, or that disregards fire safety, eco-friendliness and aesthetics, fear not. Which make it both fire safe and eco-friendly. And if you get flooded, this could save your flat from taking further damage. So if you think that this isn't a great solution for your ceiling, your information is a bit outdated. Don't believe us? Watch this video till the end and we will have you convinced. Enjoy the show. Let's piss off the electrician, yeah? By the time they turn on the power, we'll be long gone. Recently, I overheard a conversation between our client and his neighbor, where allegedly the neighbor was boasting that he got a great deal for his ceiling, somewhere around $7 per square meter, and in his opinion, we overcharged by asking for $37 per square meter. This is like comparing a Mercedes with a Kia. Both work as modes of transport, but one is 10 times the price. This is exactly why we're here today. We're going to install and compare 2 ceilings at 2 vastly different price points. Let's start with the budget ceiling. First, we need to install a level to understand at what height we can suspend the stretch ceiling. Just like that. We are using a collapsible bar to install our level with a panoramic laser. So after we put up the bar, we establish the horizon at the necessary height and turn on the laser so that it keeps casting the light. And we will just leave the laser here so that it keeps shining throughout the process. In this room, the ceiling height will depend on this ventilation shaft. We can't go any lower than that. And now we can check if the laser goes across the entire room so that we know where to install the aluminum molding. When mounting the budget ceiling, we will be using regular aluminum wall angles. Working with a budget profile is much faster than a premium one. You don't have to spend time cutting and joining the inner parts of the angle. You just cut it and install it on the wall because it will be completely hidden under the canvas. Now we are going to mount the wall angle. This is a drywall so we can just screw it in, but the other wall is concrete so we have to use a nail gun. We use the laser as a marker and we install the baguette just above the laser. Let's piss off the electrician, yeah? By the time they turn on the power, we'll be long gone. So because this is a suspended ceiling on a budget, we will install only 2 fixtures. One for our light and one for the fire alarm that is required here. Here's a life hack for you. We can use the laser to figure out where we need to bend the fixture so you don't see it through the ceiling. And we can see with the laser that now the fixture will be well hidden behind the ceiling. And if we install a heavy chandelier, we will know that it won't fall. Well, I mean, it will fall if it's too heavy, but the fixture won't stretch and you won't be able to see it. Ah, no ammo. Here's a joke about ammo. The war is over, kids are going to school, Miss Wilson is conducting her lesson and asks, "Mary, did you help the soldiers during the war?" Mary says, "Of course." "Oh, and what did you do?" "I helped bandage the injured." "And what did the soldiers tell you?" "Thank you, Mary, thank you." Miss Wilson says, "Good job." "And Peter, did you help our soldiers?" "Yes, of course. I brought the injured to Mary so that she can help them out." "And what did they say?" "They said, 'Thank you, Peter, thank you.'" "And Max, what did you do during the war?" "I passed them the ammo." "And what did the soldiers tell you?" "Sehr gut, Waldemar, sehr gut." We will hide the cable in the fixture. First we pull it through, then tuck it back in, so that after the ceiling is stretched out and a cutout is made for the lighting, you can easily pull it out and install your lighting of choice. Your electricians will hate me, but a cable and wire are the same thing. Using a nail gun is fun, but in this case we'll be using a combi drill to secure both the fixtures. Because securing them with just a nail gun isn't enough with a concrete ceiling. By the way, you can buy a combi drill for like $1,000 and it'll be yours. Because we know that this fixture will be used for a lightweight fire detector, it's okay if it has a little give. We can always bend it a little through the ceiling once we cut a hole out for it. The detector runs on batteries. We have installed the molding across the entire perimeter. Both our fixtures are in place and the space is ready to have a suspended ceiling installed. But before we can do that, we need to make bypasses for the pipes and the canvas. Just like that. We need to find the correct edge. I unfolded it a bit, and knowing the layout of the room, I can already tell you I will need the opposite side of the canvas for that corner over there. Since I'll be mounting this ceiling alone, I'll be using these. They are called third hands and they will help us with stretching the ceiling to the necessary height. There's a special hook here that we can attach to the aluminum molding. We calibrate the distance, and now we have this vise that will attach to the canvas. Okay, now our ceiling is hanging on the 3 third hands. Wow, that's a mouthful. We can now regulate the canvas height, and because of that, I can easily pass the pipes through the bypass. Alright, it's time to use the heat cannon. Now that the canvas is heated, I can easily tuck it into the baguette. We use a little bit of plastic to glue the bypass from the other side of the canvas. Why do this? This is a precaution. While we are stretching out the rest of the ceiling, there's a good chance that the bypass could rip otherwise. We do the same thing with the other pipe. We are heating up the entire canvas so that it stretches out evenly. Since I'm doing this alone, I'll later put down the cannon and turn it down so that it keeps the temperature in the room consistent. And that's it. All that's left now is to install this decorative insert in order to cover up the crack that was made while stretching the canvas. So we are done mounting our budget ceiling. It took us around 2 hours. Now let's see how long it will take to do the premium one. So let's look at the things that will make up our luxury ceiling. First thing is first, the aluminum molding that will cover the perimeter of the room. In this case, we're using wall angles that are meant for fabric. This type of baguette will be visible and we need special equipment to cut them in an aesthetically pleasing way. We cut it so that it has 45-degree edges in order for us to neatly bring them together in the corners of the room. We repeat this process with the rest. When we cut them at 45-degree angles, we know that the corners of the room might not be exactly 90 degrees, but after we bring the aluminum moldings together, we are going to adjust them so that they fit perfectly. So you could technically install this ceiling solo, but it would be very hard. You would need some sort of crane in order to bring up the entire construction. That's why we're going to install this ceiling as a team. This isn't the only type of baguette we will install in this room. It will cover only 3 of the walls. On the last one, we will install a frameless wall angle with LED lights which will make the ceiling look as if it is floating. So what exactly is a frameless wall angle? Let's look at this cross section. This side will face the wall and this one faces the fabric. Here's the installation pass where you tuck in the suspended ceiling. Here you would install an LED strip with a diffuser in order for the light to be evenly distributed. And after mounting, this distance is covered up by using expanding foam tape, which will cover up all the original ceiling's defects. So that this baguette neatly matches with the others, we are also going to cut it at a 45-degree angle. To attach different wall angles, they need to both have 45-degree edges. And before mounting them on the wall, we can see how they will look. So this is what they will look like once they are connected. The frameless baguette isn't mounted on the wall. Rather, it's attached to the ceiling via brackets. We will attach it 5 centimeters away from the wall. For that, we will need to measure it out and mount the brackets. The brackets are in place, and now we can attach the illuminating molding to them. So now we'll be able to connect the 2 different wall angles and see how it looks. We can see that the 2 wall angles attach perfectly, and now we can install more brackets to attach the frameless baguette more firmly and bring the rest of the wall angles to it. Butterfingers. We cut out the second part of our frameless baguette, and using these dowel plates, we can attach them both together. Okay, so both baguettes are firmly mounted, this one to the wall and this one to the ceiling. Here is where they are attached and where we will tuck in the stretch ceiling. There's still a bit of a gap between the 2 profiles. To fix that, we will attach another little bracket here, and here we will use this 2-component adhesive. The glue looks like a transparent gel, and when it reacts with its activation component, it becomes solid. After the gel is firm, it basically turns into a plastic, and we can file and cut away all the excess. I used the perfect amount, so we won't have to do that. Alright, let's get to work. We are done working with the perimeter of the room. To sum up, here we have a visible baguette and here we have a floating one. Let's move on and make a curtain rail. This curtain rail has 2 features that make it stand out from the rest. First is that you can cut it out around the canvas, because here we can install a plug so that we don't have to put the edge right next to the wall. And the second feature is that it already has indents for hooks. This makes our job much easier because we don't need to cut it out by hand, saving us time. So as you can see, after installing the plug, we can easily attach the hooks for the curtain. So this way, we use only one component to make a hidden curtain rail. After we stretch out the canvas, we will cut out a hole for it, which will allow for curtains to move unobstructed. With the budget ceiling, this wasn't possible. Adding a hidden curtain wasn't part of the agenda, so now the only options there are either blinds on the windows or a rail on the wall. The next thing we are going to do is make our stretch ceiling multi-layered. For that, we will use this aluminum mold. It's mounted vertically, the canvas is tucked in here. Above there is a space for an LED strip if required, and after we tuck in the ceiling, we will install a decorative plug to hold it in. So first we're going to assemble the aluminum mold on the floor and then raise it up to the ceiling. Next, we will install a sync profile for our track. Track means track lighting. This profile is going to be inside the stretch ceiling. This bar is 2 meters. We know that we have 2 3-meter tracks, so we need to cut it in half. We have installed the profile for the track lighting on 2 sides. Now we are going to take the same aluminum mold we used around the perimeter of the room and attach it to the baguette that makes our ceiling multi-layered, so that we can stretch the canvas up there as well. Since the height is different, we need to adjust the laser accordingly. The last fixture we will install on our premium ceiling will be this light line. What makes it special is that it doesn't need a diffuser. LED strips are mounted on the side here, which makes the light reflect off the base. As a result, you do not see the light source directly, only the reflection, and the light line looks very stylish both on and off. After we install the edge plugs, we attach the light line at an angle, same as what we have done before. The light line is done. I have temporarily mounted these brackets to it so that we can hang it up. After we do that, we can adjust them. So after we installed all of the fixtures and angles, we are going to prepare them for the fabric that we will stretch across them. So the profiles that we have mounted up there are meant for a PVC wrap, and since we're using fabric, we're going to use what is known as a clinch. We will put it in all the places where the ceiling is going to be tucked in. This is a great material because it basically allows you to install a fabric ceiling in any profile. So here we have already put in the clinch, and before tucking in the fabric, we need to go over it with a spatula to stretch it out a bit. When we are mounting a complex ceiling, there are certain hurdles that we can run into. Oftentimes the profiles and the systems that we implement don't work with the classic template solutions. But with our experience, we found a way to circumvent these issues. So for example, the plug we used for the light line won't work with our ceiling, so we need to improvise and make our own. I'm saying this because if you're not ready for these type of unexpected circumstances, there's no shame in hiring professionals like us to help make your dream room. But if you are, then go for it. You can definitely do it. Time to glue in the LED strip. We will be using one that has 24 volts. We will install it in the curtain rail inside the L-shaped light lines, and in the frameless baguette to create a floating effect. We are ready. We are ready to start stretching. All the LEDs are installed. We plugged them into a crappy cable that we found lying around. But that's just for now because this whole ceiling will be destroyed after we finish it. Now, let's stretch out our fabric. We just noticed that behind me you can see that the light is uneven. But that's just because we haven't installed the diffuser yet. Regarding the destruction of the ceiling that we are making, right now this building is under construction and nobody wants the hassle of building around our glorious stretch ceiling. So right now we are basically working for free, so a like and subscribe would be greatly appreciated. Like I said, we are going to use a fabric, a JM fabric to be more specific. This is a German textile that is made specifically for ceilings, and they have been making it since the 50s. So what makes this fabric special? This one in particular is called the color back. It's two-sided. Right now we're looking at its back end. So what is the back end for? So the most obvious use for it is that you can just flip it around and instead of white you'll have gray. So you have more of a choice in terms of what you want your ceiling to look like. That's exactly what we're going to do here as well. Part of our ceiling will be white and another will be light gray. Also, textile ceilings oftentimes have the problem of being see-through. This fabric eliminates that problem because its inner part is colored. Another thing to say about it is that it can hold water due to its acrylic impregnations, which make it both fire-safe and eco-friendly. And if you get flooded, this could save your flat from taking further damage. This doesn't mean that it will absorb all the water, but it will give you more time to react and fix the problem, provided you're home at the time, of course. Another thing that makes this fabric premium is that it's probably the most expensive fabric on the market. If I'm not mistaken, it costs around $12 to $30 per square meter, which, when you're talking about stretch ceilings, is a lot. Right now we are unfolding the fabric that we will have in the inner part of our ceiling. So, our ceiling is done. It took us only 2 days and 2 nights to finish it. It's 5 a.m. right now. Okay, one last time. Let's review. We have a second layer that uses the same baguette that's on the wall. And we have installed 2 fabric ceilings. Both JM color back, which is 2-sided. So the gray one is white on the inside and vice versa. For our main lighting, we installed 2 light lines with 28 watt LED strips, which is plenty to light up the entire room. For extra lighting, we sunk in this fixture, and you can add up to 15 lamps per line. On this wall we have a frameless profile, which makes it look like the ceiling is floating. As you can see, the light coming out of it is now even because we installed the diffusers we talked about. And it's lighting up our temporary crappy cable. Like I said before, this is temporary, since again, nobody needs a luxury ceiling during construction. Another element of this ceiling is the seamless curtain rail with its closed system that you can easily attach your curtains to. So what about the time and the manpower? The first ceiling I did alone, and it took me a couple of hours. For this one, we needed 3 people, and it took us 2 full work days. And because our time was split, we had to work nights. Right now, it's 1 p.m. and we left here at around 7. We counted up how much the premium ceiling would cost, accounting for all of its elements, its size, etc. And the figure that we came up with was around $190 per square meter. So what do you think is better, the $190 per meter or the $6 per meter? Remember in the beginning I was comparing our ceiling to cars? In one case it's a Mercedes and another it's a Kia. The price is different, but the functionality is the same. But here's the hidden meaning behind that analogy. Nobody tricked anybody. Just because we made a ceiling that would cost around $125 per square meter doesn't mean that we would make much more money. By this I mean that the cheap stretch ceiling didn't have many features. It was just the canvas and the fixture for the lighting and the fire alarm. So it didn't cost as much in materials. But the premium stretch ceiling was so much more complex. There were multiple lighting systems, it had multiple layers, we installed a curtain rail. Well, you saw exactly what we did. So the price in the raw materials was much higher than with the cheap one. And the people working on the ceilings would make approximately the same per hour. So a construction worker who wants to bump up their qualifications and get better at their craft, they're gonna go on the more harder and longer projects, but at the same time they'll make the same amount of money as if they were doing routine daily work like with the cheap stretch ceiling. Me and Vitalik, we hope that this video helped you out, helped you understand what the difference is, what's cheap, what's not cheap. We would love to hear back from you in the comments. We're very interested in what your opinion on this whole thing is. Like and subscribe and follow us on Instagram for more content like this.